I'm Tom from No Frills Influencer, and OpenAI just had a big day yesterday, released some amazing stuff. One of the biggest things was they added a bunch of stuff to their API, which is what software developers can use to tie their own applications into OpenAI systems. And in particular, they added vision into that. So it basically means now any application out there with a couple lines of code can see the world. It's a pretty incredible thing. So I want to show you how this can look with a very simple but potentially really powerful application of this new vision system. So this is a piece of software that will automatically write alt text for images. And alt text is really important for people who have any kind of visual challenges. If they need to be able to read something on a screen, they use a screen reader. So people who are using a screen reader and might have a vision impairment, for example, they can use that to hear a website basically read to them. And to understand what's in an image, you need alt text, something that describes the context of the image, tells what's in it in a very descriptive, very succinct way so they can understand what that image is. Alt text is also really powerful for a search engine perspective because it helps search engines to know what is in an image, and that can be really good for your blog. So it's one of those nice things where doing the right thing from an accessibility standpoint also means some benefits for you in searchability too. And alt text can be really challenging to write. It's time consuming. But with this new vision system, you can actually tie into the API and do it in a couple lines of code. So I've connected into the OpenAI, this is a Python script, connected into the OpenAI API. I'm not gonna put my API key in here right now because I don't want to share that with the world, but you put in your API key. And then here's the prompt that I wrote. So basically saying to create detailed alt text for an image. Here's the guidelines. And I took this from Harvard, has a free guide to how to write good alt text, essentially alt text that will help a user. And this is just something I'm using for this example. Obviously, if you're making something commercially available, you'd want to write your own prompting here, your own guide, but this draws on some of their best practices for alt text. Now I'm tying into the new model, and the model is called GPT-4 Vision Preview. So if you want to tie this into your own code, that's what you're looking for the model. And then we're going to pass in this prompt, and we're going to pass in an image URL. So I'm going to grab the URL for an image. So here's the image we're going to use. This is on my own website, the Bay Area Telegraph. I'm just going to get the address for that image, and then I'm going to go back. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. Now there's two ways to access images. One is like this, by linking to a specific asset. Another way to do it is to base64 encode the image itself and then pass the actual image file along. So if it's an offline image, you can pass it along too. Again, two options for doing that. We set a max token on here. 300 is plenty for alt text. And then we're going to go ahead and run that script. So I'm going to drop my API key back in there and run this for you. All right, so I put it back in. I'm going to run the script here. Let's go over to the console to see the output. It's going to feed that image file in. And you saw it took about 2 seconds to get this result. Here's my alt text. View of the Bay Bridge spanning across the water with boats and a pier visible, taken from an elevated position showing part of a bustling waterfront district with buildings and palm trees. And again, that's just from that image file. And here it is again. Indeed, that is the Bay Bridge. It is taken from an elevated vantage point. Got the palm trees, we got the waterfront district down there. That's a pretty good description of that image. And that's, pretty amazing. It's a really good way to understand what's visually in there instead of just sort of tagging stuff like most AI has done up to that point. And the coolest thing with this is that, yes, you've been able to access the vision through ChatGPT, the interface, for a couple of weeks now, but with this, you could tie this into your own application or your own database. So imagine that you have a website or your media company, or you're managing assets and you have 10,000 or 100,000 photos. Well, you could just set up this script to go through each of them, grab the image, add in the alt text, put that in your database, and all of a sudden you have alt text for all of your images. So that's the power of the API. You can script these things, you can do them in bulk, you can automate, you can tie into your own systems and other databases and that kind of thing. And that's just an incredible capability. And that's just one thing that you can do. Alt text is just the first thing that came to mind to me. But anything that involves understanding charts and graphs, for example, you could do with this. You could pull out, data from screenshots or from PDFs. There's just a huge amount you could do with the new Vision capabilities. And again, it's basically a couple of lines of code and a prompt, and you've got this capability in your application. Now, the one downside, I would say, it is pretty expensive. I'm not sure the exact amount for each of these queries, but I did a couple, and I got charged like $1 for it when I went to my OpenAI dashboard. So I don't know what the exact cost is per image, but it's not free. It's not, necessarily cheap either. So it's still a cost to this. There's also a rate limit, so you can only do a certain number of these queries. So you couldn't really go through like a 10,000 image or a large collection at the moment. But again, this is just a preview of the model. It's going to get faster. It's going to get cheaper over time. And for now, it's just an amazing thing to be able to do. If you want to see more really awesome stuff you can do with ChatGPT and the OpenAI APIs, I'm going to have a link to my newsletter down below. You can grab a copy of my 7 incredible, super useful prompts for ChatGPT, and then I'll keep you up to date on new capabilities like this as they come out. So, please do sign up for that, because that's the best way for me to keep in touch with you and share this stuff with you directly. Pretty amazing stuff coming out here.